Okay, picture this. You meet someone. Could be on an app, could be through friends, whatever. And the conversation just starts flowing, you know? The witty banter is totally on point, and you start to get that little feeling like, hey, this could really be something. So the texts are flying back and forth. You've shared some real laughs, maybe even a secret or two. You can actually feel a genuine connection building, a spark that feels super promising, and let's be honest, pretty exciting. Just radio silence. Your last message is just sitting there. It's been read, but there's no reply. The conversation, that connection you felt, it's all just gone. Now, if this sounds at all familiar to you, you are definitely not alone. Welcome to the very confusing world of ghosting. Right. So, to really get into why this happens, we first have to be on the same page about what it even is. What exactly is this modern day vanishing act? So, at its core, ghosting is pretty much the ultimate silent treatment. And it's not just for romantic relationships. It happens with friends, it even happens at work. One person just, poof, vanishes, leaving this total void where a connection used to be. And this is not some rare thing, you know? A 2018 study found that about 25% of people have been ghosted. I mean, think about that. That's 1 out of every 4 people. It's become a really, unfortunately, common way to end things in our digital world.
So if you've been on the receiving end of this, you know it can be just incredibly painful. But why? What is it psychologically that makes being ghosted feel so much worse than, say, a straightforward breakup?
Well, a study from SciPost really nails it. It found that the real damage doesn't actually come from the rejection itself. No, it comes from the not knowing. Just think about it for a second. With a direct rejection, yeah, it stings, of course it does, but you get clarity. Your brain can actually process what happened and start to heal. With ghosting, though, you're just left in this awful limbo, replaying every single interaction, wondering what you did wrong. Your mind is completely denied the closure it needs to move on. You know, there's actually a clinical term for this feeling. It's called ambiguous loss. It's a loss that comes with zero certainty. And what it does is it freezes the grieving process because you don't even know for sure what you're supposed to be grieving. The relationship isn't officially over, but the person is gone. And that is a deeply unsettling place to be. Okay, so we've talked about what ghosting is and why it hurts so much. But now, what about the person who just disappeared? Let's try to get inside the ghoster's head for a minute. I mean, this is the big one, isn't it? Why do people actually do this? Is it malicious? Is it just careless? Are they just bad people? Well, the psychology behind it is probably a little more complex than you'd think. So on the surface, their reasons seem pretty straightforward. People ghost to avoid feeling uncomfortable. They're afraid of confrontation, they don't have the emotional maturity to handle a tough conversation, or maybe they just have low empathy and can't really consider how the other person's going to feel. It's a strategy of avoidance, pure and simple. But if we start to dig a little deeper, psychology points to a much more profound explanation. It's a framework that actually shapes how we connect with other people, and it starts all the way back with our very first relationships. So research strongly links ghosting to what's called an avoidant attachment style. This pattern is often formed in childhood, and it basically means that emotional closeness can feel, well, threatening. So as a relationship starts to get deeper, their gut instinct is to pull away, to retreat back to the safety of being independent. Ghosting for them is basically a defense mechanism. And a 2021 study puts it perfectly. Ghosting isn't some new behavior. It's just the modern digital version of a really old pattern of avoidance. And all of a sudden, this thing that feels so random actually has a clear psychological root. Now, understanding the psychology is one thing, but if you've been ghosted, what really matters is how do you cope? How do you move forward when you've just been left with nothing but questions? And this is probably the most important thing to take away from all of this. Their silence is not a reflection of your value. It is 100% a reflection of their own emotional limitations. So let's talk about 4 practical steps to healing. First, you've got to reframe it. Remind yourself over and over this was about them, not you. Second, you have to grieve. Let yourself feel the sadness of that ambiguous loss. Third, accept it. Accept that their silence is the only answer you're ever going to get. And finally, use this experience to set boundaries, to define what you really want and expect from a partner in the future. But what happens when the story doesn't quite end there? What do you do when, months later, your phone buzzes
and it's a message from the person who completely vanished.
Right. They call this zombieing when a ghost comes back from the dead, and it's usually not some big, heartfelt apology. It's often just a casual, super low effort message like, hey, trying to slide back into your life like nothing ever happened. So why do they come back? Well, the reasons are almost never about you. It's usually about them. They might be bored, lonely, maybe they're on the rebound from somebody else, or they're just looking for a quick ego boost to see if you'll still reply. And this is where those boundaries we talked about become absolutely critical. You gotta remember this. You are not an option. You are a choice. A healthy partner will choose you consistently. Someone who treats you like an option they can just pick up and put down whenever they feel like it, well, that's not that person.
Okay, so let's bring it all home. The act of ghosting, it feels like this confusing mystery that you're supposed to solve. But the real truth is, it's not a mystery at all. It is a loud and clear signal about the ghoster's fear, their emotional unavailability, and their complete inability to communicate with respect. Which really just leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In this hyper-connected, but also paradoxically disconnected world we live in, we put so much focus on the hello. But maybe we should think a little more about the true value and the simple human dignity of a clear and honest goodbye.